So this is a tool we use a lot, and we talk about this as a diagnostic, the engagement scale of male leaders. And there's three categories I want to talk a little bit about. Now, these are categories of behavior. These are not labels for men, right? So don't go home today and say, I saw this tool and there's a whole group of guys that we want to call laggards. No, that's not what this is about. We're just identifying behaviors. You can see the natural progression of people who may be more resistant or wondering what the point is, business case or the narrative, people who are learning and opening, and people who do have a sense of their narrative and do see the business case and are, like many of the men in this room, thinking about how already to lead and are highly engaged. Here are some examples of behavior, just to give you a sense of an idea. One of the things I really like about this tool is you can just put losing, lagging, and leading, lagging, learning, and leading on the top of the page, and you can come up with all kinds of examples of behaviors and the way they can evolve over time. And one of the powerful approaches to the work that we found, and I would say it would be a way to describe what we're doing here today, is to prioritize the way that we engage men who are in that advanced learning and leading space. These are gentlemen who demonstrate those kinds of behaviors, who have a narrative. They may be the unusual suspects who are known as great leaders, great guys. They may not have been on any diversity and inclusion councils. They may not have been involved actively with the Women's Network, because often we've done diversity and inclusion in a way that's permitted us as people of normative cultures to continue to externalize and say, that's about them, not about me, to Julius's comment about the targeted programs. So we need to do this in a way that invites and starts to give voice to men who are on this side of it, and to do it in a way where we are taking responsibility ourselves for that kind of accountability. I've had a client recently who suggested 2 more L's. And I resisted that, but I decided, okay, I really should listen. There is an aspect of losing that goes on when it comes to how men show up in the world. We saw it in terms of violence against one another, violence against women in the film last night. We saw it recently in a study that came out of Silicon Valley talking about the percentage of women who experienced sexual harassment in the workplace in 2016. So we're not just talking about something that's an evidence of past times. So you can have behavior that's lagging, or you're not really sure what this is about. You actually can have behavior that's actually taking things in the absolutely wrong direction. And we know the outcomes that can come from that. On the other end, there's the legacy side. And we are starting to see people, I've noticed in the last 4 or 5 years, a number of male executives. Again, these are these quiet conversations. Have you ever noticed that guys will have quiet conversations in the hallway? Not that I know about how women talk in bathrooms, but as men, we don't talk in bathrooms. We don't have quiet conversations in bathrooms. We just get in and we get out. And then we have our quiet conversations in the hallway. One of the quiet conversations I've been having in the hallway has been senior executive men going, over my dead body, are we going to have pay inequity in my company when I'm in charge? They often have daughters. They often have some kind of key moment or narrative that says this is not acceptable. So there's a real impulse on that leading and on that legacy side to leave our organizations. And there certainly are boomers, some of those 10,000 people that are leaving every year, like Michael was talking about, that are, as they head towards the door in their careers, are thinking, I want to leave something that's very different, for the next generation. So this is one way for us to talk about engaging men in a context that is not about fixing, it's not about blaming, it's not about catching guys doing things wrong, but is really putting it in the context of a learning process that helps us prioritize the gentlemen who are leading and calling them out, listening to them, and expecting us to show up. So I'd summarize this by saying that we need to cultivate a clear self-interest to lead inclusively as it comes out in our teams, in retention and other metrics that we develop over time, and in our career opportunities. For me, it's about both that internal self-improvement part, and as we were speaking about this morning, it has to connect to growing the business. Because as Michael said, for me, when I get up in the morning, I'm from such a normative place that I can look in the mirror and just see my name, because I don't necessarily have to calibrate my gender or my race or other aspects of myself, during the day. But I do get up in the morning, and a lot of our clients get up in the morning thinking about, how do I grow the business? So when we engage people around the idea of self-interest, particularly as being better leaders and getting better results, then that's pretty powerful. A company that's working on this is Intel. About a year ago, a group of senior women at Intel, like is happening in many places, said, we're tired of just talking to each other. We need to formalize the way we engage men. So a group of senior women at Intel said, who are the guys that we trust? Who are the guys who are on the leading side of the scale? And they identified 28. And in the way of all innovation being somewhat messy, they said, here are the 28 guys, gave it to the diversity inclusion offices, do something with these guys, right? So now we're doing some stuff with these guys, and we're thinking about it in terms of, because these were a cohort of men identified on the leading side of the engagement scale. All the guys, pretty much as we've gotten to know them, were like strangely excited and somewhat freaked out to have been selected, because it's cool to be recognized as an ally. But honestly, our narrative, our fluency with gender ally work is not anywhere near as strong as even the way women talk to us about the way that they will hope it be for us. So Intel's doing a nice job because women-led of inviting a group of men in to take responsibility and start listening to men very carefully. My answer to one of the earlier questions today, what should we do? We have to start by listening. That's the heart of inclusion. And what we find over and over again when you build a data-driven, structured process of listening to men, one, shocker, men actually have things to say when they feel safe. We actually are engaged, and it's not just those of us who are here. We actually have questions and know that we can get better and have sometimes a sense of humor about this work. And what's so cool about structuring the listening process is that when you ask men what they think and you listen with respect and with rigor and you make promises that you keep with them, women in the organization go, you mean when you get guys together, anyone comes and they actually talk about it? So everybody's just like, oh, I got to hear what they said. So it's a very engaging process, and I heartily recommend the idea of focusing on the leading side of the engagement scale, not to cut off or judge or go around labeling anybody whose behavior may be on the lagging side, but we don't build successful influence strategies or innovation strategies on any aspect of business or organizational life by focusing on people who are in the lagging place. We need to start with the people who are on the leading side. Second behavior, I want to suggest that we build relationships of trust and reciprocity with women. And this is a phrase that I've learned to use, and it works in some interesting ways. So we say a man is an ally when a woman says he is. This tends to, and not to be, I know you won't be too surprised to find out there are a number of men who don't like the sound of this very much, because it cuts right at the heart of our white horse champion need to ride in and solve things for the little ladies. It instead puts the power in the role of women who can do a wonderful job of holding us accountable for saying, when you did this, this is what you learned from me, this is what I learned from you, this is what we accomplished together, and this is what it did for me in my career.